The devs did it! They finally nerfed the 2 strongest characters in the game. And they also nerfed floor hugging. Is the game finally saved? Trick question, it never needed saving. I thought it was great. Sorry for the clickbait, but you know, that's YouTube, baby. But a lot of people have been saying that this was the patch that we desperately needed. But interestingly enough, there are also a number of players unhappy with the changes. Even going as far as to say that it's the worst patch yet. If you would like to go straight to the player opinions, you can skip ahead to the Twitter portion of the video at this timestamp. But otherwise, welcome to Recap of Aether. I'm your host, Both Players, and let's get right into it. First things first, it's patch 1.2.5. Now this is a huge patch, not only for balance, but a lot of other quality of life things as well. Now number 1, we got the mid-month bundle, which is Baker Olympia. And she looks so good. Also, this trailer is so funny. Why did they make this so funny?
Oh, all right.
What the heck? Why did they do that? Like right here, what is this? A little Ratatouille? Ratatouille Olympia, or Olympia Tui. So yeah, a part of the food fight event, we have Baker Olympia. So instead of having crystal gloves, she has oven mittens. Now speaking of skins, the next sports skin that we have is Baseball Clarin for Gommel. Now when we first saw the sort of leak of Baseball Clarin with the H-Box Clarin, I'm not gonna lie, I was not vibing with it at first, but something about this screenshot, she looks so cool. This is really cool looking. I don't know if they just changed her posing or changed something, or just the colors are different and now that I like it, but I'm digging this Baseball Clarin now. Now, if you happen to be signing up for Gommel, this skin will be free. Otherwise, you can purchase it at the Aether store. Alright, look, these skins are really, really cool. I mean, I'm a certified shill. Look at all these bundles that I got. They're crazy. Some of them I skipped because I wasn't that interested, but I got a majority of them. I am embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to admit how much I paid for this game. But you know what keeps me from feeling super embarrassed is that I support a creator every time I do it. So if you want to get any of these new bundles, the Baker bundle or the Gommel bundle, which I think I might, this is super sick. Whee! Wahoo! Make sure to do so while supporting a creator. Again, it doesn't have to be my code. I just want to make sure that you have someone put up here because every 2 weeks it automatically expires. So make sure before you purchase anything, go to support a creator and enter a creator code like Both Players. And now a percentage of the proceeds will go to supporting a creator like me and also give you a 5% Aetherbuck cash back. It's a win-win for all of us, so make sure to support your favorite creators, and let's get on with the video. A new feature, which is another great quality of life change that they made, is that you can now practice while in queue. So while you're solo queuing, you can now practice while you wait. Now this is especially good for people in regions with a lower player count. I haven't had too much trouble as I live in SoCal, but I know people in Europe and Asia and even South America have had long wait times, so hopefully this makes it a bit more bearable. Another game feel thing, rivals now have unique animations when jumping backwards, and they also have unique teeter animations. Look at Fleet, so cute! Whoa, she's so clumsy, she's gonna fall! But yeah, every character now has teeter animations and unique jump animations when jumping backwards. I didn't try it for everyone, but for example, Loxodon, when you double jumped, he would do like a front flip. So even though he was going backwards, he'd do a front flip, but now he does a back flip. So now it makes a little bit more sense. Honestly, I didn't really notice, but now that I see it, it's pretty neat. Next is some stage blast zone updates. So they haven't really adjusted stages since release, so this is really interesting to look at. The first change is Fire Capital. The side blast zones have been reduced from 2824 to 2680, a reduction of about 40 units. The devs mentioned that KOing opponents on the stage could often be frustratingly difficult, especially with the stage size, making it hard to catch some characters in the first place. With this change, it is still the widest blast zone in the game, but should be less polarizing. Yeah, so even though the stage is still really wide, hopefully it's easier to kill opponents once you get them at the sides. And the next thing is Godai Delta. The top blast zone has been reduced from 2230 to 2030, which is a significant drop. It's 200 units. The devs say when looking at the stage starters as a whole, the top blast zones were all relatively high, with Godai Delta standing out as having both the highest top blast zone and the widest side blast zones. This combination made KOing opponents in the corners especially difficult. This change makes this stage have the lowest top blast zone of all the starter changes, changing its functionality significantly. This is going to be really weird to get used to, but yeah, all the starting stages had high blast zones, but now we finally have a stage with low blast zones, which for characters who like to kill off the top, this is really good for them. Next we got some new shop items, including Diet Cola Orcane, that's really cute, Purple Leon Clarin, and yellow Wrastor parrot. We got a handful more icons as well. And now for the big meat and potatoes, the actual balance patch. Now, if you were unaware, last Thursday, Aether Studios actually did a Rivals 2 developer stream. Now, from what I understand, the team wants to do more frequent and regular developer streams on their channel, and I believe they want to aim for weekly Thursdays. But for this stream, they did a preview for a lot of the patches and also talked about their philosophy behind it. So even though the patch notes are out, I think this video is still fun to watch to get a sense of what the devs thought while making the changes. So I already made notes on this stream, so as I go over the patch notes, if they don't address it there, I will kind of go over what the devs might have been thinking while making those changes. Now the biggest hits to this patch were Zetter, Ranno, and Wrastor. Zetter and Ranno getting significant nerfs, and Wrastor getting a rework. Now firstly, for some general changes, a Floorhugging rework. I think generally speaking it's a nerf, but it kind of functions differently, so I'm just calling it a rework. According to the devs during the developer stream, they said that they wanted a version of the Floorhug that works as intended. Now the intention for SSDI being the way to Floorhug was to intentionally make the skill floor high, but in their opinion it was a bit too high. Lower level players couldn't use it because they didn't understand what was going on and were just getting frustrated by the fact that it was happening to them. And at least in the devs' opinions, the people who were complaining about floor hugging usually weren't using it. So in order to change that, they made floor hugging generally speaking easier to do, but weaker overall. Now one thing, they reduced the tumble threshold from 27 to 26. Now I don't really know what these units mean, but what this means is that attacks will start knocking down slightly earlier, making floor hugging less effective across the board. Floor hugging no longer requires a timed input. One of our design philosophies is to make difficult options more accessible, while adding depth to their use cases. Having a time press requirement meant that a lot of players were unable to use floor hugging, even at higher levels due to the speed of attacks and lowering hit pause. We have decided to remove the timed input in order to make using floor hugging more accessible and be able to strengthen other options in the game. We have also added several new counterplay options to encourage a greater risk reward now that the action is easier to perform. We also feel the consistency of the option will allow us to balance it better than the time input variant, since the actual strength of floor hugging will be easier to see and dissect at all levels. So all that to say, before you needed to SSDI down during hit pause in order to get a floor hug, but now every floor hug is an auto floor hug, which means all you have to do is hold down and you will get the floor hug input. So this actually makes it much easier to get the floor hug than it was before, but hopefully now it means that more people understand how floor hugging works rather than just observing and getting mad. Now this is a really fun nerf. Strong attacks will now always send into knockdown when floor hugged. This is a brand new direct counterplay to floor hugging that can work at any percent. Opponents will get knocked down at percents when they normally would go into floor hug state, making it impossible to counter hit after a floor hug. This should give alternates to beating floor hug with grab, especially at lower percents when a lot of moves won't knock opponents down. There are some exceptions to this change due to the nature as outliers, such as Forsburn Cape hits on forward up strong and the late hit of Fleet's forward strong. Okay, so this is going to be kind of hard to do by myself, but I'm going to try. So normally when you get hit by something like fair, you'll get knocked out, right? You go into tumble. But when you floor hug, and because it's holding down, it actually I think will combine with CC, so it's a little hard to tell, but so your knockback gets reduced, but then you hug the floor and you don't get sent flying. But now if you try to floor hug strong attacks, you get put into knockdown, which is really interesting, which I think will feel a lot better for people, because I think one of the things that people complain about the most is specifically when you're getting a counter hit from doing a strong attack. And now I couldn't get it myself because I think I'm bad or something, but I think you could theoretically tech that. I tried doing it for like 10 minutes and I couldn't get the tech, but I believe Trevor said that you are able to tech it during the developer stream, so that should be something you're able to do. Now another thing floor hugging will cause you to do is take extra damage at the end of hit pause. Combined with the tumble threshold decrease, this significantly decreases the percentages where non-tumble floor hugging is possible. The damage dealt is 1/4 of the damage of the attack, so it helps take characters out of the tumble threshold faster, even on a successful floor hug, meaning that the game state will evolve quicker on every stock. This change further distinguishes floor hug from other defensive tools such as shield and spot dodge, with the punishment for its use being damage from hit, plus a new additional amount of damage if you stay on the ground. So hey, yeah, floor hug is easier but worse. Is this going to be better for the game? We'll have to see. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet, so I'm not sure. Another interesting change is waveland duration is now from 10 frames to 8, so you can act out of wave dashes and wavelands 2 frames earlier than you could have normally. Shield dropping will no longer cap your horizontal speed. This allows for full momentum plat drops out of run state. Normal plat drops will still cap your horizontal speed at your max air horizontal speed +4. Performing a grounded attack on the last frame before leaving a platform will now perform a runoff aerial instead. Previously, if you input a runoff aerial 1 frame too early, you would get stuck on the platform. This change should improve game feel in these scenarios since the player is often intending to perform a runoff aerial. Which, actually, I do this all the time, so maybe this will actually help me. I was like, dude, I keep trying to run off aerial, but I'm just doing dash attack or something. I suppose this is supposed to help that, so I can't wait to play, man. Many wall jump vertical speeds have been adjusted. So basically they just kind of normalized jump heights. The highest jumps and the lowest jumps have been brought more to the center. I'm gonna skip a couple of these things because I think they're not as impactful, but this one is really interesting. Attacks that send away from the character, like Zetter Burn neutral special or Force Burn down special, will now deal more knockback when sending up. Now the reason why they're doing this is because generally when attacks send up, it's actually fighting against gravity. So it actually feels weaker than it normally should. So they're increasing the knockback by multiplying it by 1.11 to make it feel more consistent with the power of the rest of the move. This change will also inadvertently make Zetter Burn's neutral special feel less oppressive because the upward hit of neutral special will no longer send so little. It will send more, so you'll be able to escape easier. Alright, so now we're going to some Zetter Burn nerfs. So, overall, huge nerfs throughout his entire kit. The horizontal jump speed from both grounded and double jump have been reduced. These changes reduce the horizontal distance Zetter Burn can cover with his jumps, making it harder for him to catch opponents who DI his vertical combo moves away. This particularly makes combos into his forward air less consistent on DI away. So I think generally speaking, they're making combos harder for Zetter Burn by making him slower, as well as making DI more effective. Another aspect of this is that air acceleration has been reduced from 0.9 to 0.8, making it so that he has to be more precise when spacing his aerials. The radius of shine has been reduced from 85 to 75. I mean, it's only a 10, I think, centimeter difference, but it looks pretty significant. Oh my god, that's actually quite a lot. I'm loving these changes, man. As a day 1 Zetter hater, I'm never gonna complain about Zetter again. He's getting completely, well, he's not destroyed, but like, dang man, all the annoying parts of him are finally being fixed. Uncharged neutral special hit stun multiplier from 0.9 to 0.8. This makes using the move directly under an opponent have the same number of hit stun frames as before due to the increased knockback of upward launching omnidirectional moves. It also decreases Zetter Burn's advantage when using this move in other situations, such as repeated wave dash neutral specials or spiking opponents into the ground. They also did some changes to up special, making it so that the starting speed is faster, but it slows down earlier. It also decreases the distance traveled by about 35 centimeters, which is slightly less, so if you are really good at spacing that maximum distance, it might be a little hard for you, but otherwise it's not too bad. Up special can no longer fall through platforms during recovery window. Oh, this makes it function as the same as most other characters. He can still fall through platforms once he's in the special fall window. Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't even know there was a difference. Aerial down special can no longer hit projectiles while diving? What? Really? This makes it more feasible to intercept his recovery with projectiles. Whoa! Wait, I didn't even know this was gonna happen. I could just spam meatballs at down special and get away with it? Oh, I feel weird about this. I mean, it's good for me, but dang, that's really bad for Zetter. Down special double jump refresh cancel window will be delayed by 5 frames for each use per airtime. So this is gonna be interesting. So if you were unaware, if you use down special off stage, it actually refreshes your double jump. But I guess every time you use it, the next time you do down special, you'll have to wait 5 frames more to get the double jump. So the longer Zetter Burn lives, it's actually going to be easier to edge guard eventually. Down special cancel animation raised slightly upward. So from what I understand, this is to make Zetter Burn a bit more vulnerable while doing the ledge special cancel animation without changing the actual spacing needed to recover and grab ledges and stuff like that. Now during this recovery, Zetter Burn's tail will also be vulnerable during the first 21 frames, making it easier to attack. Forward tilt also got a recovery nerf from 18 frames to 21. This reduces the combo potential and increases the risk of this attack. And all neutral air hitboxes shrunk, which I mean, again, I'm happy about because this move has been hitting me all the time. From this, wow, this last hit to this hit, it's a pretty significant change. Holy. I mean, I'm sure Zetters will recover, but like, I think for now, in the early stage of this patch, I might be beating Zetters left and right. We'll see. Forward air recovery from 18 to 20 frames, making comboing the sour to sweet spot forward air into itself more difficult. Back air got reworked. It got increased knockback growth and also an angle change to make it hard to combo on DIOA, which I'm blessed. I'm blessed. I hated getting hit by back air up smash at like 120%. I shouldn't combo at 120. But the other thing is this is now a stronger edge guarding tool, so we're gonna have to look out for that. Up air chest hitbox radius from 50 to 30. Hitbox move 20 centimeters upwards, so making the range about the same, but making it smaller overall. Up air active frames went from 4 to 3. And yeah, that's basically it for Zetter burn, which honestly, this is kind of making me almost sad for Zetter burn. Like, I almost, like before, when I beat Zetter burn, it felt like earned. Like, yeah, I beat this monster of a character. But now it's gonna feel like I'm beating a normal character, which is good for my own ego. But hey, all the Zetter haters, let's celebrate, baby. Now the next person getting huge nerfs is Ranno. Generally speaking, the devs have reduced some of his slipperiness and defensive capabilities while also adding extra commitment to his aerial needle usage and a few other over-centralizing attacks. Now, one thing they did is thicken Ranno's hurt boxes. So the hurt boxes aren't longer in any way, but they are a bit thicker, making it generally easier to hit. His run speed has been reduced from 21.25 to 19.25. This does not affect his initial dash, but generally speaking, it'll be harder for him to follow up on certain combos. Ranno can no longer fast fall during neutral special, which I didn't know Ranno could do this, but it makes sense because Rannos can just like neutral special spam, jump, fast fall over and over again, which is I guess how they did it. But now that they cannot fast fall out of it, it'll be a lot more committal. The ability to land cancel this move from any height using fast fall made this move too safe and reliable for our liking. Now Ranno will need to start the move from the right height to make it safe. Forward special can no longer jump cancel if it gets parried, which I assume like getting parried from the air. I didn't know that you can jump cancel after that. Up special rising hitbox move downward. This reduces the upward disjoint so opponents can intercept it with well-timed moves. Oh, the hand is exposed. Exposure of hand. Well, that's actually pretty significant. It used to cover the entire body basically, but now you can hit it, which I mean, it might be really good for, it's definitely really good for Loxodon Dare. I think I could just straight up hit Ranno up special now. Up special recovery window friction going from 0.5 to 1. This reduces the horizontal distance he can cover with his up special, making offstage recovery range a bit more strict. It's interesting that the bounce philosophy or a lot of these like really strong grounded characters is to make the recoveries worse, which like on paper makes sense, but there's just a lot of characters that do that, like Olympia, Ranno, and kind of Zetterburn now. A lot of the nerfs hit the recovery. Ranno can now only spawn one poison bubble per air time. So basically when Ranno is stuck in the air, spawns a bubble, and somehow you pop it, Ranno cannot make another bubble. He has to land first. Poison bubbles can no longer capture players for 30 frames after being hit. So if you hit the bubble first and then hit Ranno, Ranno will just go past the bubble. You will not be captured into it, making that as a recovery option much weaker. This lockout does not apply when Ranno hits his own bubble, so if he hits his own bubble and then hits you into it, you still get stuck in. But yeah, this should make this a lot less annoying. Of course, if Ranno spaces the bubble outside the range of your attack, so you hit Ranno first and then it gets into the bubble, he'll be trapped in the bubble. But I think that's fair. Up tilt knockback has less base knockback and more scaling so that it stops comboing into itself earlier, and the angle change makes DI out less punishing. Up tilt recovery from 23 frames to 25, up strong recovery from 30 to 33. So yeah, generally speaking, easier to hit, slower in a lot of regards, and added recovery in a bunch of moves. Now Wrastor got the most interesting change of them all. Now one, an incredibly interesting slipstream rework. So now when you throw slipstream, it'll be active for 2 seconds with a total duration of 10 seconds. If the slipstream happens to hit a player, it will stay active for 4 seconds. And the slipstream is reactivated for 2 seconds every time Wrastor hits a player. So theoretically, this can make the slipstream last forever. If Wrastor keeps landing hits, the slipstream will keep on staying, which the devs hope that this version encourages Wrastors to play aggressively, whether his slipstream is active or inactive. I think what will inadvertently happen is that while Wrastor stops camping, this will definitely still make other characters camp, because then you can just run away from Wrastor in order to stop slipstream from being active. I'm not sure how much of a problem that's going to be. I guess we'll have to see, but that's a problem I can, try to have some foresight on. Slipstream will be deactivated when Wrastor is hit by any attack, not just stronger attacks. Oh, losing Slipstream when hit by a stray weak move is now less punishing since it can be reactivated. Oh, so any hits will deactivate Wrastor Slipstream, but Wrastor getting hits back will reactivate it. Okay, super interesting. The dash duration went from 16 to 10 and dash speed went from 18 to 15.6. Wow. These two changes reduce the effective of his range dash dance significantly. This applies to Wrastor both in and out of slipstream. His run speed has gone from 17.6 to 18.25. With the reductions to his dash, this run speed increase makes sure he can still cover horizontal space effectively afterwards. So even though he can't dash as fast, his run should be able to keep up. Minimum frames between consecutive double jumps gone from 8 to 12. This reduces how quickly he can chase opponents vertically while comboing them, essentially adding a few frames to his follow-ups when opponents DI to end up above Wrastor. Now some other stats that they've changed. Wrastor's air friction is going from 0.28 to 0.36, horizontal airspeed from 13.2 to 12.6, max horizontal airspeed and slipstream from 17 to 50.6, air acceleration from 0.9 to 0.8, and air acceleration and slipstream from 1.3 to 1.1. These aerial movement changes are intended to offset the aerial frame data improvements so that good DI can be used to escape Wrastor's aerial combos. So basically, they want him to commit more to a direction when comboing, and DI out matters more because it'll be harder to follow up. So a bunch of the tilts got reduced base knockback, and forward tilt got increased knockback growth, and all 3 tilts can now be jump canceled 12 frames before the IASA frame if they hit an opponent. This allows Wrastor to transition to aerial combos more quickly on hit. So Wrastor actually had jump cancel tilts from Rivals 1, but I believe he could have canceled at any point of the tilt if it hits. But now you can actually just essentially act 12 frames earlier than you normally could have if you hit someone with a tilt, which is gonna be pretty nasty, man. I fear what Wrastor can do now. I didn't have that much fear before, but now I fear him. All hitbox neutral air hit 1 now send at a knockback angle of 65 instead of 32, basically making it easier to link into itself. Neutral air hit 2 knockback angle went from 40 to 45. This is to make it much easier to survive when getting hit by neutral air off stage. And this is just generally speaking, all the aerials, the startup and recovery have been reduced. So much faster aerials, much faster acting out of tilts, stats slower to make up for that. We'll have to see in practice if that's enough, because I'm a bit scared of this, man. This frame data is gonna go crazy. Now this is an interesting change. So basically the sweet spot of F strong and up strong have been increased pretty significantly. They're making it much more lenient to get the sweet spot, because I guess in the devs perspective it was hard to get at lower level. Which honestly, I'm not sure about this change. I'm actually not sure about this. I think it's fine for characters to have a really high skill floor. Wrastor, they mentioned this in the stream, Wrastor was a character who did really well in high level, but not very well in low level, which I think is fine. I think it's fine to have a move that is a lot more rewarding to hit, but is stronger. I think in fact people prefer that because they can recognize, oh, it's a strong hit, but you have to work for it. You have to space for it. It does make them more consistent, but I'm not sure if this change was the move, to be honest, because I think it strictly just makes it easier for lower level players and makes it worse for higher level players. Down strong post charge startup went from 4 to 6, making it more difficult to combo into it. Down strong travel distance before jump cancel went from 10 meters to 12 meters, so that Wrastor has to travel a bit more before being able to jump out. Starting neutral special will now cut Wrastor's velocity in half instead of halting it entirely. What this means is that when Wrastor is falling, he actually has to make up for the falling gravity before going up. So it effectively nerfs the upper range of this move. So it just takes into consideration your own velocity now. So like if you get hit downwards and try to recover with neutral special, it'll be much harder. That being said, because momentum matters, if you jump into neutral special, it actually should be able to retain the same amount of height as done before, because you're adding the upper momentum from the jump. They also did some up special changes. Sour Spot knockback had its base knockback decreased by 1. The Sour Spot was knocking opponents down too early for our liking, making it a little too safe to throw out. The up special sweet spot radius went from 15 to 10 and also moved 5 centimeters inwards, making it harder to hit. They also changed the knockback angle from 45 to 50, which makes up special worse at securing low percent kills off stage, since DI in will be more effective until higher percents when it starts killing off the top. Down throw recovery has also went from 6 frames to 12 frames, making it harder to follow up after landing the down special. So now the next big changes were done to Kragg. So I mean, I didn't know Kragg was gonna get touched too much, but generally speaking, the devs wanted to make sure that Kragg felt more like a heavy. While Kragg is a heavy character, he also has some strong qualities that aren't usually present on heavies, such as high airspeed, good recovery tools. We're toning those aspects down so that his weaknesses balance out his strengths better. We're increasing the damage of some of his heavier hitting moves to help lean into his strengths more. Kragg is getting toned down in terms of his stats, his speed, but making him stronger, so more in line with the heavy archetype. The grounded jump speed and the double jump speed has been reduced from 15 to 12.5 and 13.5 to 12.5, and air acceleration went from 0.85 to 0.75, basically reducing his burst range. He can still do some of the things he's able to do, but just not as easily as before. His leg and waist hurtbox radius has also been expanded slightly, making it easier to hit him. Up tilt got some nerfs, making startup going from 7 to 9 frames, and hit 1 went from 2 active frames to 1. Up tilt hit 2 hitboxes or also shrunk horizontally, making it much harder to hit. But to compensate for these nerfs, Kragg got damage buffs to down strong, forward air, up air, and down air. Neutral air hit 3. The base knockback has been reduced, but the knockback growth has been increased, making the move more unique across percents. Down throw recovery has also been increased from 13 to 17, making follow-ups out of down throw a bit harder to get. This is a small quality of life thing, but now rock will be pushed away from players when landing instead of pushing players out of the way. Everyone else just got some like quality of life things or some specific wall jump vertical speed changes to make it more in line with everyone else. But that's basically all the big changes. Alright, next, so in the competitive side, one of the tournaments for Rivals 2 Championship Series, CEO, happened last weekend. And here are the results. Here's a little picture to make it easier to see what's going on. We got Sophie, but she got first place with Zetterburn, which was quite the upset, beating Kickasult twice to do it. Kickasult still the #1 player, but at second in this tournament. Ant at third with the Ranno. Marlin at 4th with the Orcane, Stingo at 5th with the Kragg, although Stingo had been playing a bunch of characters this tournament, mixing in Kragg, Zetterburn, as well as a little bit of Olympia. He's having a bit of a character crisis at the moment. The other 5th place is Elkies with the Maple, and at 7th place we have ZB and Acorn with the Kragg and Zetterburn respectively. Now the two biggest standout results are Sophie and Ant, making 1 and 3rd, I think both of their biggest tournament results yet, which is super exciting to see. I'm really glad that Rivals 2 is a game that the new blood is able to take down some of the old gods. And if you missed the tournament, don't worry, we got some great highlights for you. On the Aether Studios official YouTube channel, you can watch the top 8 highlights, but if you want something more edited and also showcasing the entirety of the tournament instead of just top 8, you can take a look at Epic's CEO video. Now, something I want to do for the tournament results is kind of show what the players were thinking right after they won or lost. For Sophie, she says, "Rah! 5-set losers run with a 6-0 in Grands, first medal, thanks Elk for teaming with me." So Sophie actually won doubles with Elkies, but on top of that, Sophie got #1 as CEO, beating Shadow, Cheesy Potato, Caro, Marlin, and Kickasult twice to win the whole thing from winners. Only going Game 5 versus Cheesy. Thanks to everyone who cheered and supported me. Also won dubs with Elkies, which we saw, and thanks for being my inspiration, Magi. Let's go new blood. Again, really exciting to see new players do really well this game. Goes to show you don't have to be an old head. And the Ranno who got 3rd had some thoughts, saying, post CEO tweet of course, 3rd place, wow, did not think I had that in me, and I am beyond happy to show off Ranno like that. CEO was an amazing time overall, and this is a crazy start for me. That being said, it's GOAT season in 2 weeks, APSA soon, GG's to you all, see you at more. Which, I mean, if Ant does switch to APSA, RIP Rannos, man. I think Ant is one of the big names really showcasing Ranno at a high level right now. So when APSA comes, you're gonna lose a good one. But overall, a good showing for Ant. Mars saying Ranno was cool, enjoyable to watch, keep it up. Mars being a Smash pro and a Smash content creator, but when he played Rivals, he played a lot of Ranno, so it was really cool to see him support the fellow Ranno. Now we have Marlin at 4th saying, 4th at CEO, I'll take it to be honest. My set with Ant was some of the most fun I've had playing the game, not gonna lie. GG's to both him and Sophie, both the same players, GG's y'all. Which hey, I mean, we love a humble king. I know Marlin can do it, I know Marlin can win it all, but to say that he's having fun regardless of the placement is really heartwarming to say the least. Big ups to Marlin for giving Sophie and Ant their laurels. Can't wait to see Marlin do more stuff. Stingo saying 5th at CEO again. I'm starting to slump, which I'm pretty upset about. I hope the new patch favors me again, because I need non-RNG floor hugging like yesterday. GG's to all. I think it's really funny that I've been seeing this rhetoric of floor hugging being RNG, because like you kind of have to like randomly time it, or it feels random rather. But now that it's auto, it's like less RNG, which I think is just funny. But yeah, Stango following that up saying, I passed the mantle to Sophie, new adventures for me discovering who we shall play. So Stango may be dropping the Zetter burn, or at the very least trying to discover who he likes playing in the next patch. Beastly saying, I liked your Olympia, so maybe Olympia? Real ones remember the Stango Clarin. Clarin time, you'll always be Zetter Daddy. Stango Bird or Fleet, Loki the future. Oh my god, everybody's saying every different character, so we'll see what Stango plays. I know whatever he chooses to play is going to be great on the sticks. Elky's saying 5th in singles, 1st in doubles in Rivals 2, and my first CEO, losing only to Cake and Marlin, which, yeah, that's pretty good losses. Top 2 in the game right now. A good confidence boost near the start of the season. Big ups to Elky's. Getting these great results at your first CEO is nothing to sneeze at, and I'm sure you'll do better as time goes on. Flex Jork, which, by the way, what kind of name is Flex Jork? Really? Flex Jork? Anyway, I assume that they're friends of Sophie, but they're saying Sophie went from a 3-2er with the worst spot dodge habit imaginable to CEO champion in 8 months. I'm still in awe of her growth and can't wait for Evo. Which, wow, going from just a mid-level player to a top-level contender in a span of 8 months is very impressive. And it kind of gives me some hope for me, because I suck at the game and I want to be better. So all it takes is 8 months of practice. Maybe I got the sauce, maybe I don't. And finally, in terms of CEO opinions, Dakpo, who got 9th, losing to an Arcane and Zetter. Honestly, a nightmare matchup scenario, but it happens. I still feel like I performed well, and I'm slowly closing the gap with the top 10 players. GG's everyone, thanks to friends that supported me this weekend. And the main reason why I wanted to share this is because this picture is so funny. I wish all Zetter players a very see me next Tuesday, which is just happened. We're gonna have to see if the Zetters and the Ranno still got it, but happy next Tuesday, everybody. Happy next Tuesday to everyone except Zetters and Rannos. But honestly, man, I feel for you guys. I'm sorry you guys have to go through it, but it's well deserved. So with 3 events down in the Rivals 2 Championship Series, let's take a look at the leaderboard. So right now, top 8 is Cake Assault, Sophie, Marlin, B-Bats, Vibe, Fullstream, Ant, and Stango. Cake Assault with an impressive 195, Sophie putting herself at number 2 with this tournament result at 170, Marlin at number 3 with 125, and so on and so forth. So if you're interested in seeing what the top players have to offer, make sure to take a look at this page periodically. Now, in order to understand the scope of these points, for getting first you get 100 points, second is 70 points, third is 45, fourth is 25, fifth is 15, seventh is 10, ninth is 5, 13th is 3, 17th is 2, and 25 is 1 point. So, one first place finisher is worth 20 9th place finishers. It's worth 10 7th place finishers. So getting top 3 in a tournament is really important if you want points. That being said, anybody with any number of points is doing really, really well. In fact, some really top players like Ion, BioBurb, Lucius, Cheesy Potato, ZB all have like 10, 8, 7, 6, 5 points. All this to say is that any amount of points means that you're a good player. It just, at the higher level, it kind of stacks, it kind of starts to stack like crazy. But this is to show you how good these players are. All right, now let's get into the Twitter portion of the video. Here are all the opinions from all kinds of players about this patch. So one, we got this is, I hate this. It's funny, but I hate it. Pyronic saying, thank you, Trevor, thank you, Dan, for destroying Ranno. Ranno got no limbs no more. He's completely neutered, and Pyro wants to thank you for it. Dan saying, though, we didn't chop off his limbs, we made them really fat instead to see what would happen. Which is true. T says not dead enough, which, I don't know, man. We're gonna have to see. We're gonna have to see. Gek, our number 1, locks it on. Let's go, Gek. Saying, beautiful patch outside of Wrastor, the training weights are finally off. Complete 180 from the last patch. I remember Gex saying that he was not happy with the last patch, not happy with the state of the game, especially with all the Loxodon nerfs. But now that the top 2 in the game have been hit significantly and the general changes to the mechanics, Gek is feeling it. Rakai asking, how does it feel so far? And Gek saying, like I can move properly and the game is playable. Which, let's go, as a fellow Loxodon, I trust Gek's opinions 100%. Whatever Gek says is what I believe. If Gek says jump, I jump. If Gek says shoot, I shoot. If he says Loxodon's bottom 2, I agree. If he says Loxodon's actually top 1, I'll be like, okay, hold on, you're cooking a little too hard. But I agree, and Nurse is also really enjoying the game, saying new Rivals 2 patch is the best the game felt in a long time. Ranno, Zetterbird, and Kragg are still likely the best characters in the game, but it's nice that the other characters, especially Wrastor, feel like they're in the conversation now. Stickless saying, I need your explanation on how you think Kragg is still good. He feels so ass, Zetter feels like he was barely touched in comparison. Whoa, that's an crazy opinion. I feel like that's crazy. I feel like Zetter went crazy mode, and Kragg's got like little pit pat pats. Nurse saying, I feel like Kragg got real compensation buffs and is one of the characters least affected by floor hugging and was already top 3. Yeah, I don't know if Kragg got that hit that hard, just a bit harder to follow up, but got stronger moves in general. So Stray Fair is gonna kill earlier, what the hell? But as we got some positive opinions, I gotta throw in some negative ones too. Golgi, who plays Ranno in Rivals 2 and is a really strong player, and has also made a lot of great guides on YouTube, saying, ignoring the Ranno nerfs, the Rivals 2 patch feels like shit. The game became hold down simulator even more, the matchmaking server issues got worse, Zetter Shine into wave dash is hard to deal with, this plus the Ranno nerfs make me not want to play the game anymore. Something I forgot to mention when saying hold down simulator is that I think crouch canceling is a good mechanic, but floor hugging is terrible. Making everything auto floor huggable is worse than terrible. If they removed floor hugging, this would mean a bunch of moves would have to be reworked like Zetter Shine or Forsburn Cape, but it is what it is. The only argument I've heard for floor hugs is that SSBM had floor hugging. Maybe the 20-plus-year-old game had flaws. Now, I'm sure that playing Ranno did have an effect on this. A lot of Ranno stuff got hit pretty significantly. But yeah, it's a really interesting take that the game became more of a hold down simulator. And in a sense, I understand, because yeah, auto floor hugging makes everything easily floor huggable, but there seems to be more purposeful counterplay to it. So I actually feel like mindlessly holding down is going to be worse now, because if someone's just holding down, you can do a strong attack and then tech chase. It also breaks earlier and much faster. So I do think, even though you'll be able to floor hug more at early percents, the fact that it breaks easier is going to be significant. Zetter Shine to wave dash is hard to deal with. Yeah, this is maybe, I don't know if it's unintended, but I feel like an unintended side effect of the wave dash buff is that Shine into wave dash is actually much faster. It's 2 frames faster, in fact. I can't really speak on the matchmaking server issues because the game in general has always struggled with that, even though I personally have not gone through that much struggle. I recognize that a lot of people have, so not much to say about that. Gek responding saying the game was already a hold down simulator, now it's not RNG. In which Golgi responds saying, yeah, the RNG last patch at least made the interactions shorter. Now it's just we both will hold down because it's strong. Gek responding to that saying, it's not fun to have my inputs arbitrarily not come out, especially with the state of the game online. Time floor hug sounds great until the Chicago servers decide to delete my inputs, I guess. Which is to say, I think Gek is more of a fan of the auto floor hug aspect of it. Max saying, agreed, but I'm still having fun solely because Ranno's nerfs are good enough for me. Golgi skull emoji. Was it Max that said that like he couldn't play Ranno because he thought it was too strong or something like that? Was that him? Oh yeah, it was him. He said the irony of this is that if you nerf Ranno, I'll have a good time. I literally dropped him because his needles are too OP and over centraling part of his kit, promoting the most one-dimensional low effort playstyle, and I'm one of, if not the top rep for Ranno, which is hilarious. So Max can now finally play his true main because Ranno got hit enough. Hey, you know what? It is what it is. Next we have Elu saying the duality of Zetter mains, where Beastly says Zetter feels fine, cool. But Lucio saying Zetterburn is simply the worst character in the game now. He can't do anything no more. If he might D out, the character just loses. Might have to drop this character for Olympia now. If you are unaware who Lucio was, I wasn't aware until like when I was researching this. Lucio is a top player from Mexico, I believe #1. But even though Elu says duality of Zetter mains, Beastly actually retweeted this. Retweeted this tweet. So I think Beastly also tends to agree that Zetterburn has been hit pretty hard. Which yeah, Beastly says straight up, it feels like Zetter got hit with a complete game plan change, while Ranno got a little left tap of a nerf, which is quite annoying. Again, really interesting to see the varied opinions. Obviously someone who mains Zetterburn is gonna feel like Zetterburn got hit a lot, which I agree with. Zetterburn got hit a lot. I remember, I think in this video, someone before was saying that they believed Kragg got hit way more than Zetterburn, which honestly a crazy take. I think Zetterburn got hit significantly more than Kragg did. It's just so interesting. I think people just have a bias towards their own character, which makes sense. But, you know, it really goes to show just like everything you do affects your opinions. Now back to the positive side, Ryan says the new Rivals patch is so good. I hate that, but good. Ranno got a lot of deserved nerfs, but Needles definitely need a different nerf. In my opinion, they should function the way they did in Rivals of Aether 1, rather than just taking away the fast fall. Ranno is only going to become more campy and more annoying. Bird asking how did they function in Rivals of Aether 1, I am a noob, and Ryan explaining that the end lag scaled with the amount of charge you had. 1 needle gave 18 frames of lag, 2 gave 16, 3, 14, 4, 12. There also wasn't a land cancel in Roa. If you landed during an aerial needle, you would transition into the grounded needle animation for the remainder of your lag. In Rivals 2, needles have a flat 16 frames of lag no matter what. No matter how many you have charged, could be uncharged, could be fully charged, it's always 16 frames in Rivals 2. Rivals 2 also added land cancels to needles, meaning if you land during an aerial needle, you have 0 lag like its Falco laser. The land cancel never exists in Rivals 1, is completely unnecessary in Rivals 2. Giving needles a land cancel just creates a balance problem that didn't previously and never needed to exist in the first place, and is completely broken. I think, I don't remember exactly, but I think part of the reason why they gave needles buffs like this was to counteract the strength of shields. I mean, in Rivals 1, there was no shields, so different amounts of lag mattered a bit more. Not only that, the needles were slower in general, a lot more easily reactable to parries. It's just so much faster in this game. I will say, with the new physics and a new engine and the new mechanics, it's hard to like balance 1-to-1. Although I think this is an interesting thing I didn't know that happened to Ranno. But yeah, otherwise Ryan really liking the patch. And sharing his opinions on Ranno, saying, Ranno feels pretty much completely fine with the patch. Wall jump recovery and run speed are definitely felt, but should just take adjustment. However, I am feeling Plat Needle Boost got hit pretty hard with the needle fastfall change. It feels really bad, slow to do now. Well, basically showing this, the comparison, this is how needle boosting worked before the patch. Phew, 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 phew. But now with this patch, much slower, which I think was an intended side effect of the nerf, but Ant saying this is why I believe fastfall needle nerf was needed, but not because of the above example. Saying that he agreed with the nerf in terms of like this spamming needles was like too toxic, but the movement nerf is not necessary. I will say I think it's hard to nerf this while not nerfing this because they both depend on the physics engine. So nerfing one thing is going to inadvertently nerf the other. I'm also not a game dev, so I don't know of an elegant solution to this. But yeah, Goldry responding to this saying rip Plat Needle Boost. I wish they buffed up throw to match his run speed nerfs, because now the move is way worse. I mean, overall interesting to know that like a player like Ant feels that Ranno nerfs were like fine, they were just fine, but like Goldry really didn't like what the nerfs did to the character. I mean, again, going to show that even within the same characters, opinions are varied. Fabian/Copter saying godlike Rivals of Aether patch, Ranno Zetter mega nerfs, decent Kragg nerfs, huge Wrastor rework, looks more fun but also more broken. Love the new mechanics. Auto floor hug is raw and the changes look cool. Looks like Wrastor, Maple, and Arcane are eating until post-patch Evo. Fabian continuing saying, love the direction honestly, stages stuff too, and hopefully these weekly Thursday streams really cook. Hype for ABSA. Copter continuing saying, played for 2 hours and yeah, this is the best the game has felt so far. Easily. These are the kind of changes I want, bro. This is beautiful. Breakshio asking, is it the game feel itself or more in relation to the character changes? Fabian says both. 4 of the characters got changed a bit, the gameplay mechanics got a lot of changes. Marlon tweeting out, so they just made it so anybody can play Wrastor, huh? Which I'm not sure if it's a complaint or just an observation, but yeah, Wrastor is much easier for the lower levels. Used to be a very high skill floor. They reduced the floor by a lot, I think, making all the strong attacks easier to hit, making Slipstream a bit easier sort of to use, and also making aerials faster in general. We're gonna have to see if the nerfs to the movement and the rework to Slipstream really changed the way Wrastor plays, but we'll have to, but it's interesting nonetheless. Speaking of Wrastor, Musef giving his opinion, saying, oh, they gave Wrastor jump cancel tilts. LMAO, okay, I think they're lost. Just strictly breaks the rules of the game, which I kind of understand. I can understand the dislike of this because yeah, it is kind of like, why does Wrastor get to break the rules when other characters don't? But like it's like other characters have tilt cancels too. Like Kragg can cancel dash attack on hit, can also cancel side B on hit. Zetter has the Gatling combo for no reason. And in the same way, they're giving Wrastor jump cancel tilts for kind of no reason, other than it's kind of cool and it's what he had in Rivals 1. Movesef continuing saying, which cracker on beta couldn't Space Wrastor S match, dude, that's ridiculous, revert that. I mean, yeah, it's really interesting. Musa makes a interesting point here, kind of snarky, but still an interesting point. Merp saying, I mean, it's explicitly aimed at helping newer players get more consistent, confirms the Wrastor, so... And Musif responding saying, right, so all the new players complaining about Claire and Tipper should also get their preferred changes too, right? For consistency's sake. I think saying like, yeah, I mean, lower levels couldn't really hit Tipper's offense, so should they make it bigger? No, obviously that wasn't the right move. They made it smaller, more skillful. In the same way, yeah, it's interesting that like F Smash got like a sweet spot buff. I mean, I think I also agree that it was fine being a high skill move. That being said, again, I have to see how strong the strongs feel. Like if I keep getting hit by sweet spots, but I die less frequently anyway, I think it doesn't really matter. Dakpo, who, as a reminder, plays Wrastor at a very high level, says, I have a lot to change with the new Wrastor. First impressions are like a 3 out of 10 for me, but I'll keep working on it. A lot of the nerfs impact my play, and the buffs do not complement my play at all. Which is, I think, true of all current Wrastors, because the buffs were to tilts and aerials, and specifically, I guess, transitioning tilts into aerials. Like, that wasn't part of the play before, so you have to completely change the way you play Wrastor now. I think of all the characters, Wrastor has changed the most significantly. I think maybe for the better. I do think Wrastor is stronger, but at least the transitional period, it's gonna be tough. Yoda Cage with this tweet saying, me when Zetter and Ranno gets nerfed, leaving Maple as the best character in the game. I mean, happy about the nerfs, but sad that Maple is the best, which maybe this was Dan's plan the whole time to make Maple the best character in the game. He mains Maple. Now speaking of Maple, Plup, who had won Genesis with Maple, saying, how many more Rival 2 patches are there before Evo? I want to pick a main already. Dan responding with, we probably just need to see if the new Wrastor is broken or not and shoot out some small changes in the July 1st patch, but saving any bigger balanced stuff like this patch had after Evo. So hey, something for everyone else to note, there's gonna be no major patch until after Evo. But also interesting to note that Plup, I guess is dropping Maple or is still deciding. Oh, this is an interesting thing. Because shield dropping will no longer cap your horizontal speed, this inadvertently brought back a tech which was moonwalk plat boosting. So if you're unaware, you can moonwalk on a platform, drop down and jump and carry that momentum with you. So, oh my god, look at that. Oh, disgusting! Ew! But yeah, moonwalk and you jump, carries that momentum and goes all the way. Now here are some more moonwalk shenanigans. Clarin Bobby drop. Playing with a moonwalk, look at that. Look at that. You can just jump around everywhere. You can moonwalk, drop down, and just carry that momentum pretty far. I think it's gonna be pretty sick, not gonna lie. Now with everything, we also got the take from Waidu, still talking about floor hugging, saying that Rivals 2 finally gets floor hugging nerf, looks inside, easier input so that people complaining about it have more of a chance to use it. I love Rivals 2, but why does it treat your moves don't work when you hit them as a mechanic to balance and not a core game feel issue? Continuing to say, in Smash Ultimate, Shallow, when you dash attack someone they go flying away. This is bad. In Rivals 2, Deep, when you dash attack someone, you get hit because you didn't use one of the approved moves. You absolute fool. Don't you know you have approved moves? Again, this is just the nature of Twitter, that people write things in a very snarky way. But the ultimate thing I think Waidu is trying to say is that floor hugging as a mechanic in general feels bad because you get punished on hit. That has been the core issue from the get. Now I believe with the changes, it actually makes more intuitive sense. You get punished harder by getting more damage from floor hugging, so it doesn't feel as bad in my opinion. But I will say it is a bit dismissive to just say that there is no actual nerf and that it's just that it's easier. Floor hugging itself did get a significant nerf to its power. I did respond, I asked, this is interesting because they did nerf the strength of floor hugging. But I wanted to ask, genuine question, do you feel the same about moves that have super armor? I suppose the difference is that super armor is a lot more visually clear, but I don't know, just curious on your thoughts. And Waidu did respond saying, super armor is something that only happens during specific moves and has very clear visuals and is usually tied to specific animations, which convey a sense of power, preparing to block a hit. But floor hugging can happen at any time, even during the end leg of random moves. Which yeah, to a point, I do agree that the game feel is off, but I respond, which is my opinion, that I think that what Floorhug attempts to do is give you more defensive options on hit, other than just DI, which I think can be cool. You are not entirely helpless after one hit, especially with how quick and powerful Rivals of Aether 2 combo starters can be. While DI helps you survive longer or escape combos earlier on hits, Floorhug allows you to get reversals if your opponent gets lazy with their approaches. I do think where they went wrong is how powerful it continues to be at high percents, because it's like, what the heck, you should die if I hit you at 100, but it seems that is the biggest thing they're fixing, so I'm very excited to see how it plays next patch. Which I am very excited. I haven't played yet, but I want to. BBat's responding to Waidu's tweet saying, I will never not be pro floor hugging in games where 1. Combo games are crazy good, and 2. Moves when they hit without defense lead to insane punishes at all percents. At low percent, having nuance in your defense and punish makes the game sick. It's something to learn, but adds depth IMO. Ultimate avoids this issue by having most characters not have absurd openers at 0, with random cast members having 0 to deaths. I feel that this insane switch up in ult makes the game feel really unfair. These moves would have more consistent counterplay in a game with floor hugging. There's definitely frustration, but no, I don't think all moves should be available 24/7 with no nuance. I think that leads to like 3 to 4 moves becoming insanely over centralizing, especially in Rivals 2 where jab can cancel to tilts, which would make jabs the only neutral option. Overall though, if you truly hate the idea of not having to consider the move you're willing to go for, then you're not going to like the mechanic. I think this new version of the mechanic is going to do wonders to make the game less mashy while still having counterplay. Waidu responding to all that, my argument is that no amount of added depth justifies the massive game feel / audience loss of your moves not working. Not to mention there are numerous ways to get that depth that don't push people away so hard, as demonstrated by countless FG's plat fighters that don't have it. And BBat's responding to that saying, I would say that feeling is fair, but something to learn about plat fighters is that this happens. The biggest plat fighter in terms of competitive audience over the past 20 years has this mechanic, except even more egregious, I think, speaking about Melee. These games all experiment, and I don't think the idea that every move only loses to shield or parry is a good way to progress with design, especially in this game currently has very little end lag. Giving the defender flexibility with unique options make the game better in my opinion. I think right now Rivals 2 is a great mix between fast and fun for competitive platform fighter. I think that's why we've seen players from almost every plat fighter get into grands of majors at this point. IMO, I think Ultimate's philosophy with hits is generally bad design. And fun thing that GP/kilogram hours discovered with this new patch is that Loxodon can actually wave dash and then F-tilt the magma from a close magma, which is kind of sick. And I actually think it might be a problem. I think this might be a problem. The fact that I can meatball retreat and then, you know, protect myself with the meatball and then launch it forward. Oh boy, that's gonna be a problem, man. But I love it. And finally, ending this off with some fan art. Stupid lion, squeak! Olympia squeezing the crap out of Zetter Burn, we love it. Next we have No Hamel with a really cool drawing, a Rivals of Aether parody of Dragon Ball of the Trunks stuff. Man, this is really cool. Definitely go check out No Hamel, follow him, and also shout outs. No Hamel shouted me out on Twitter, so I'm shouting you out on the YouTube video. I appreciate you for watching, and I appreciate that you put me on while you're working on this really sick piece, man. Keep up the good work, and I hope to continue being in your rotation. And finally, we got fantastic Mrs. Fleet. Watermelon trying to get back into drawing, so she's taking it easy. But got a cute little fleet right here. We love to see it. Alright, so that's gonna be it for me. A really long video, but that's because this was a massive patch and a lot of opinions. If you played this patch already, let me know what you think. Is it the best patch there ever was? Does the game finally feel like how it was meant to feel? Or is it going in the wrong direction? Let me know in the comments below. And if you made it all the way to the end, appreciate you guys so much for watching. And if you haven't subscribed already, you might as well press the subscribe button right now. It's free and it makes me feel good. And don't you want to reward me for giving you these yummy recaps? I know I would. I don't know if I made this opinion clear. I haven't played yet, so I can't really have a really grounded opinion, but I trust the devs. I always trust the devs. I think they know what they're doing. They listen to the feedback of people, and they also understand their game at a deeper level than any of us really ever will. Hey, as a player whose top complaints were Zetter, Ranno, and the inconsistency of some movement mechanics, the fact that it's all being tackled is great for me. And I'm gonna continue playing this game until someone beats the crap out of me so hard that I want to give up. Anyway, that's it for me. Remember to keep playing Rivals, and I'll see you guys next time.